Hello, Inspire Academy, Fitness Academy. I'm Sarah Marsden-Shreve from the Image Tree, and I'm part of the wellbeing team for the Inspire project that we're all enjoying at the moment on a daily basis, Monday to Sunday, with lots of different things for you to join in and enjoy. So, my slot, if you haven't seen or heard of me yet, is I am all to do with loving your body and wearing you happy. So I'm a holistic based image consultant, coach, and body positive advocate. So I like to throw in a bit of psychology, a bit of body positivity, and obviously the traditional image consulting skills where you have the colour and your dress and your body shape and wardrobe and shopping and all that sort of thing. But obviously, I'm a little bit different because mind, body, and wardrobe is about you as a person. So, image and self image is about coming from the inside first and then transmitting to the world on the outside. So, it's reflective. So, tonight, I'm going to talk to you about colour power. Now, this is one of my favourite subjects. So, I'm going to have to rein it in a little bit so that I don't speak for an hour or something like that, because it's quite an integral part of my business and my mindset anyway. So I just thought I'd give you some interesting things and facts about colour and how we can use it, particularly at the moment. I mean, it is a very grey day today, probably the soggiest we've had in a while. Certainly missed that sunshine. So having a little bit of colour in your life and knowing how it can help you actually when you need it, as a mood booster or confidence thing or uplifting or calming or whatever that is. Colour can actually subconsciously really help you, and consciously as well. So I'm going to go through some of the colours. I have some props with me this evening, courtesy of some of my colour analysis swatches. You'll have to bear with because they don't show up incredibly well, all the different ones on the laptop and on the camera. And we are fading fast with the light. So I will try my best and hopefully keep you entertained. So, colour. It's everywhere. It was a language before we could even speak. It told us what was poisonous, which animals not to bother, where there was water. If it's, green and lush, we knew that there would be places to go. And it's useful in our everyday life. We can't avoid it. They reckon we can see millions and millions of different varieties in colour, which is subjective, to individual people. And they reckon that there is so many more, different colours that we haven't yet been able to process to see. So how do we see colour? Well, if you remember back in the old science lessons at school, do you remember anybody shining the light through the old prism, the old crystal prism? Well, it used to generate a rainbow when you did that. And that's because light, although it's white and we can't see it, is made up of different wavelengths, which gives you the rainbow. So you've got red, yellow, orange, green, blue, purple. I'm trying to think of the right order. So each of those colours emits a wavelength, which our eyes take in and processes to our brain. And because our brain sees those colours and processes those colours, it's actually in the same part of your brain in which your emotions are processed. So there is certainly a crossover. As with any sense, there is a crossover to how, we perceive information: touch, smell, sight, sound, taste, and the sixth sense as well, which all helps us relay information. So colour, actually, different colours change our emotions and help us feel differently because they have that effect. We can eat colour. We know that colourful food is usually the best food to have. They say that you should eat your plate of rainbow as much as possible because they have the most vitamins. You can feel colour as well when we go out. I mean, green is the best example because at the moment when we're going out, we're going in, if we're lucky enough to go into the woodland or in trees and forests, we can perceive the colour green everywhere. In Japan, they call it Shinrin-yoku, which means forest bathing. And it's been proven that actually, the sounds as well, okay, but it's the colours of the greens that change our senses and give us a feeling of calm, hence the forest bathing. So going out for those walks at the moment, you know, if you can, even on a dreary day, if you can get in amongst the woodland, it's really important for your mental health and your mental well-being, because it creates calm. Green is the central wavelength in the rainbow, if you would like to put it that way. So it causes less stimulation, so the eye doesn't have to adjust as much to see it. So, you know, they do reckon that in hospitals they use green robes and things like that because, you know, when you're looking down at gore, basically, and you're looking at the red, which is highly stimulating and tiring to your eyes, when you look up and you're surrounded by green, it gives them a little bit of a rest. Green and red are contrasting colours or complementary colours, if you remember the old colour chart. So it can be energetic colour, and green is a great example of trying to explain that to you in a way that you remember. I've got some facts for you today as well with each colour. So I'll go through some of the colours. How we love colours and how we feel colours is very subjective. So if I start with red, for instance, so I've got red on today because I wanted to feel a little bit more assertive and show you, well, red makes me feel happy anyway because it makes me feel confident. But different sorts of red appeal to different people. So we can have soft, bright, cool, warm, and pale. Red is not red to everybody. How you see red and which reds you prefer is subjective to different people. But it actually scientifically, and they proved it physiologically, raises your blood pressure, which means it gets your pulse rate going, which is probably why it's relinked to passion and love and things like that. Because an interesting study that I I read a few years ago, is that if you, ladies particularly, if you use red if you're dating, for instance, and you have your profile picture, if you introduce red somewhere, whether it's just lippy or you're just wearing a little bit more red, men were, I can't remember the exact percentage, but it was a lot higher, were more likely to find you attractive, as it were, and notice you more, because obviously red is a very stimulating colour for the eyes and it creates focus. Probably why Mr. Obama used to wear quite, a bright red tie, because when you're public speaking, red is brilliant to get people's attention because it jumps forward. It's the longest wavelength and the most stimulating for our brains to process. Red also, interestingly, anybody that's, having trouble sleeping at the moment, okay, lying in the dark is the best. You're not supposed to have any light or anything like that. But there's also been some experiments done on using red light bulbs. Now, this is not, we're not talking infrared or anything like that, because that's quite harmful with it being so hot. But just red light bulbs. I have a diffuser atomizer that I put essential oils in and it changes colour. And often, if I'm having trouble sleeping, I just keep it on the red setting and it knocks me out. It's amazing. You don't have to stare at it. It just fills the room. Or if you have a little night light, if it's, like a warm red colour, it will help you sleep, which is amazing because normally when we look at red, it's quite assertive. But this research is interesting and colour psychology is quite a new subject. So there's lots of chromology experiments and research going on at the moment. But so I thought that was absolutely fascinating. So red, it can be used for attracting attention. It's good for building the pulse rate, and it can also help you sleep. Sounds counterproductive, but there we go. Open to everything. So in sport as well, red is often seen as more aggressive and more assertive. And a lot of sports teams that wear red tend to be more successful. I'm not saying this is Derby County, Nottingham Forest, Liverpool, Man U and all that. I'm not getting into the football, but red is perceived as being more aggressive and more assertive. So some psychology research was done on that, and people and teams that wore red seemed to be more productive, and the other team seemed to be more fearful. Fearful, that's probably a strong word, but you get my drift. Loads of things that you can look into. It's fascinating. Anything more about red? No. Green. I've talked about that with regards to the forest bathing. It's also really good for balance and associations, especially if you're in counselling or you are coaching or anything like that. Wearing a soft green is really good to help people open up. Any colours when you're trying to connect with people, even just virtually or one-to-one when we get the chance. It's great. It's more open to people being more honest with you, because when you sat one-to-one with somebody and they're wearing all the colours in the rainbow, it can be quite overpowering. So if you're trying to bond with somebody, it's always best to have a softer colour. When I do colour analysis with clients, it's to do with colour that flatters them physically and emotionally as well. So it's to do with what we're born with. So your skin, your eye colour, your hair colour, and for me, your personality and what you need the colour for, because you can be a colour ninja. So you can use colour in that way, aesthetically, but also energetically, which is why I wanted to share both sides with you today with some facts. We have associations to colour because, interestingly, I cannot stand bottle green, and that is because it was my school uniform. It was okay, school was okay, wasn't the best, but wearing bottle green, and when I see it, I feel the feelings that I had when I was at school. So it does bring me down a bit. Luckily, it doesn't do much for me because I'm so pale. It actually drains all the colour out of my face. But I've had associations to those colours, that colour as well. So interestingly, when you open your wardrobe, you might have more of one colour than another, or you might be drawn to certain colours. And that's because of your associations with those colours and how they make you feel. So if you have a wardrobe full of just black, then somewhere in there we're trying to hide, because black can be perceived as a comfort blanket, so that we can disappear, as well as being, known as being the streamlining colour. All dark colours, actually, matte colours do the same thing. So it's interesting to think about the colours that you are attracted to, which makes me lead on to blue, because that is deemed the world's most favourite colour, probably for men mostly. Colours shouldn't really be gender specific. We've done that, the blue and the pink divide. We made that happen. Luckily, most people are bringing children up these days to be mixed with the two rather than one or the other, happily. So in clothes wise, we use blue as a neutral, which is good to mix with other colours, particularly navy and the classic blues. With regards to energetically and emotionally, studies have found, and we do have these associations when I do colour games in parties, the colour navy is more or less associated with professionalism and trust, which is why a lot of people, a lot of companies use it in uniforms, and also to show it usually in the financial district as well, with banking and things like that, because it's a very trustworthy colour. And it's good for communication as well when we start making it brighter and more turquoise and tealy. It brings on more communication. Certainly in marketing and branding, colour psychology is massive. The colour of your logo and to the walls that you paint in your office and things like that is massive. McDonald's have changed from red and yellow because it used to be a fun mix of the two colours for children, but now in order to increase appetite, they use more terracottas and oranges, which stimulate appetite. Interesting fact there with the browns as well. It makes you physically more hungry. New research on that. I'm sure there will be a lot more on that, but yeah, if it's good enough for $1 million marketing branding companies, colour psychology is certainly good enough for us, and we can use its advantages too, because it helps you think about what a product is, or you're drawn to it on the shelf. It's the same principle for our clothes. We can use colour to give off our personality and certain vibes, professional, creative, or we could, soften, caring and nurturing, the softer colours or the brighter colours. So, it varies, and we should certainly fill our lives with colour because it can lift our mood. If any of you have got home offices, a nice soft blue, nothing too dark, is a good idea to use. Whether even if you paint your walls, nothing too cool, but nice and warm and calm. I'm thinking, I'm trying to think of a blue, like a bluebell sort of colour would do it because it's soft, but it actually helps focus and productivity. So blue is always a good one if you want to be thinking about things and get in the flow. On another note, interestingly enough, if you're feeling you're eating quite a bit at the moment, as we all probably are, if you try eating off a blue plate, so try putting your food on a blue plate, it might give you less of an appetite, or certainly help you not eat as much, because blue and food do not mix. It's not a natural colour when it comes to food. There are no foods that I can think of that are blue. Purple maybe, berry-wise, that sort of thing. So I encourage you to try it and see what you think. If you put your food on a blue plate, let me know. You might not finish the whole lot. It's a subconscious thing. Again, remember what I said about colour and emotions working around in the same part of the brain. So let me know how you get on with that. It's certainly interesting. Pink. Right. I've got some different pinks here. We've got some Barbie pinks, plain pinks, cool pinks, hyacinth. They look quite purple on here because the light's fading. But, pink doesn't have to be bright pink. It can be nice and soft, or it can be chalky or warm or cool, depending on your skin tone and your eyes and your hair. Like we've said before, certain qualities of colour will look better on you than others. And in your home decor as well, you will be drawn to certain colours more, and different tones of colours, because of your own subjective associations with them and your attractiveness to them. So pink is less aggressive than red, so it doesn't quite pack as big of a punch. It's quite a free colour, letting go. They still use it quite a lot in women's advertising and things like that, but it's empowering colour, and it's certainly one that should be embraced by fellas. I think any man that wears pink is going to go up in, expectations with us ladies tenfold, because not only is it empowering, but also it's there was a research done in an American prison in which they painted walls in, they call it drunk tank pink. I forget what the exact pink is called. And any of the men particularly, do put women in there, but any men particularly that were found to be aggressive, they put in a pink cell with this particular pink, and it reduced their aggressiveness more or less instantly. Over a prolonged period of time, you get that the emotions and the aggression raised up again, but for a quick fix, they would put them in this drunk tank, as they called it. And it was quite remarkable. So much so that some prisons in America still make them wear pink because it helps, supposedly, to reduce their aggression levels. But for men and women, it could be a different thing. But again, colour, we see it and we process it just like every other emotion. So it does help shape our behaviours and our associations. So yellow is probably one of the last ones I'm going to look at. Some of you might have got some yellow in your houses at the moment. It was quite on trend last year, not only in the fashion world, but also the decor, the mustards, and introducing soft furnishings and such like that. And interestingly, if you're quite an anxious person and you suffer with your nerves a little bit, soft yellows in your decor, even if it's just soft furnishings or on your bed, on your duvet covers or things like that, is actually quite a calming colour, as long as it's not really, really bright, because it's one of the most visible colours in the spectrum. behind red for different reasons. And it's good for your immune system, and if you're into chakras, that's where it would be sit in your sacral. But it helps stimulate your nerves, and it would help with the immune system. So if you have any mental blocks as well, yellow is a good colour to use. And in some think tanks in Google and places like that, they use quite a lot of yellow. Even if it's just, if they don't paint the walls, but even if they just use certain things around them to stimulate them, it's good for mental blocks, and also calming your nerves if it's a soft yellow, because dark and bright has different effects to soft and pale. Okay, because it's to do with authoritativeness. The higher the contrasting colours, say black and white, that's the most contrasting. Police uniforms, that's a perfect example of high contrast and more authority. Whereas softer colours, so pastels and colours that are similar together, are more approachable. So, this is why we use colour psychology and different in branding and clothes as well, because it can have a different effect on how you see and feel. It's a massive subject. Could go on about it all night. I absolutely love it, as you could probably tell. So yeah, yellow, bring some sunshine into your life. Okay, start looking around your house now and thinking, oh, what room needs changing? How do I need to feel? What would help me encourage certain things, whether I need calm or a bit of a boost. If you need boost, you need to go a bit brighter. If you need calmer, you need softer, paler versions of that colour. Purple, that's another one. Now, interestingly, this is a bit like that dress thing that went viral. They said, what colour is it? Now, these are actually purple, okay? But as you can see, they look really blue. I can guarantee, this one, for instance, is Cadbury's purple. And look at that. So as a prop, pretty useless. But purple is, or violet, if you want to go to the darkest bit, is the shortest wavelength in the colour spectrum. So it is quite a colour that if it goes really dark, we have to be quite wary with. If you painted a room in very dark purple, it could be quite introspective and quite depressing. On the other hand, a lilac or a paler one, again, can be quite uplifting. Interestingly, purple is associated with wealth and spirituality, mostly because historically only the wealthy or the highly religious wore purple, because it was quite an expensive dye to make. They used to crush little, I think the little sea snails or something like that, and they used to crush them, and you'd need hundreds of thousands of them just to make one little pot to dye the fabric. Which is why only the clergy, the high clergy, and royalty used to wear purple. In fact, one of the Roman emperors, I think it might be Nero, he banned purple. Only he was allowed to wear purple because it was such a massive statement. So purple, is still synonymous with luxury. Who doesn't like Cadbury's chocolate? That's luxurious to most people. And when you wear it as well, it just makes you feel quite luxurious and quite special and quite valuable somehow. So it's quite a comforting colour. So having a bit of that, around the house is also, and in your wardrobe, is also something to think about. We don't just have to stick to wearing the same thing and surrounding ourselves with the same colours. If you love neutrals, that's totally fine. A lot of people do, just like a neutral palette that's natural, beiges and browns and blacks and greys. But just adding a bit of colour now and again, somewhere on your being or in your environment, is important, so that there is that difference. Some people's houses are really colourful, and for others that would be too overwhelming. So again, colour is very subjective, but we do have feelings towards it, and it is such a powerful tool to have and to use. We literally can use colour to talk before we do, to give people an idea about ourselves subconsciously. And if we do choose colour and we wear colour mindfully, so we're making it conscious this now, then, you can dress for your occasion, you can dress for what needs to be done, you can dress for dating, you can dress for interviews, you can dress to get your point across or to be listened to. It's certainly something that I invite you to look into and Google as much as you can, because it's fascinating. I think that's just about what I wanted to say. If anybody has any particular loves of colour or wants to ask me its effect or how it might help them feel. Oh, Vicky's put, yep, she likes blue. Yep, totally. Lots of people like blue. Again, different sorts of blue. Navy's one that's very popular in wardrobes, like I say. But you can colour mix any... you can colour mix anything, really. I mean, if you remember this is the old colour wheel that we used to have at school. If you go opposite, then that's classed as a complementary colour. And so, if we're into purple and golds, that works. Green and red and blue and orange, purple and yellow, that sort of thing. They all work together. And they don't have to be bright. They can be very subtle. There's lots of colours online in the shops at the moment. I have these for my clients. Unfortunately, we can't get in the shops, but you can go online. So if there's any particular colours that you are fancying, then these sort of colours are going to be in the shops for quite a while. So there's lots of greens and blues and pinks and neutrals. Classic blue is Pantone colour of the year. So if you love blue and you're sick of black and grey and brown trousers or whatever it is, go and fill your boots or online. Preferably try and use local boutiques because they're the little guys that need our help at the moment. So thank you for listening to me. I hope I've given you some inspiration around the power of colour and how interesting it can be on our emotions and either brighten us up or calm us down or just fill us with joy. So go and look around your house, go and look in your wardrobe and see what's missing and see what you could do with a bit of. Okay, and pop on the comments and any questions. I'm quite happy to answer them the best I can. So that's it from me. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday evening, and I will see you this time next Tuesday when I'm hoping to talk to you about your wardrobes, giving you some help. While we've got the time, we might as well go in and see what we've got and have a little sort out. Just chunk it down, lots of little things and inspirations and some cool little tactics and hints and tips that you can use to help you on your way. Okay, so enjoy your Tuesday. Bye for now.